Good morning. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to arrive. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these sunken eyes and learn to see. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to be free. Blackbird fly, blackbird fly, into the light of a dark black night. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to arrive. You were only waiting for this moment to arrive. You were only waiting for this moment to arrive. Blackbird fly, blackbird fly, into the light of a dark black night. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to arrive. You were only waiting for this moment to arrive. You were only waiting for this moment to arrive. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'd like to introduce your lovely, do you call him a reverend? Pastor? Reverend Dr. Ken Wilcox.
Sounds good to me. I have been called a lot worse, I'll tell you. Well, good morning, everyone. Well, welcome. Thank you for showing up this morning. Thank you if you're joining us online, but I hate to tell you, if you're online, you're not getting all the love and energy that's here in this building. You got to come and experience that for yourself. But we are glad that you're tuning in. Again, my name is Reverend Ken Wilcox. Thank you for being here. It's going to be a really special service today. We've got a great two visiting speakers today. So it's going to be a fun service, something a little different than we normally do. Now, as you know, each Sunday I always give you an encouragement to do one simple thing, and that is to leave all your troubles, your fears, your would-haves, your could-haves, your should-haves, to leave that stuff outside. And for the next 45 minutes or so, unless I get on a real tear here, I can, to open up a space for the spirit of creation to flow into your life. And how does that spirit of creation flow into your life? By releasing all your fears, your doubts, your would-haves, could-haves, should-haves. Leave that stuff outside and open up a channel of God's possibilities. And what are God's possibilities? Well, they're for more love, more joy, more happiness, all those things that make us feel alive, because that's what we're doing here. We are recognizing ourselves as the spirit of creation through our love, our joy, and our happiness. And Spirit is going to recognize us and reward us abundantly. So know you're in a special place today. Know you're going to leave here in some significant way, healed, blessed, and prospered. Well, just a couple of announcements before we get going. We have a newcomers class that will start, on the 23rd and then on the 30th. It's 2 classes. It's a really special class. If you want to know more about our center, about our traditions, our history, this is a great class. The 23rd and again on the 30th is just an hour or so after service. It's a way to get yourself introduced to what our teaching is about. We also are going to have a special celebration for the holidays. We're going to combine what we used to do as our commitment dinner, and we're going to combine that with a holiday celebration. We're going to have that early in December, so we're planning it already. And if you'd like to be involved in the planning of that, that's going to be on October 13th at 10 o'clock here. So if you are really a holiday person, you like to decorate, or you like to plan parties, we could use your help. October 13th at 10 o'clock. Well, those are all my announcements. Elizabeth, I know you've got some great music for us. Can you share something for us?
I need that.
You need that, okay.
I do.
I was going to sit on it.
That's all right. Secret of life is enjoying the passage of time. Any fool can do it. There ain't nothing to it. Nobody knows how we got to the top of the hill. Since we're only here for a while, we might as well enjoy the ride. The secret of love is in opening up your heart. It's okay to feel afraid. Don't let that stand in your way. Everyone knows that love is the only road. Since we're only here for a while, we might as well show some style. Give us a smile. Isn't it a lovely ride? We'll be sliding down, we'll be gliding down. Try not to try too hard. It's such a lovely ride. Now the thing about time is that time isn't really real. It's just your point of view. How does it feel for you? Einstein said he could never understand it all. The planets are spinning through space. The smile upon your face. Welcome to the human race. Isn't it a lovely ride? We'll be sliding down, we'll be gliding down. Try not to try too hard. It's such a lovely ride. The secret of life is enjoying the passage of time.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So one of the nice things about being a minister is that you almost collect people along your way, and you find spiritual heroes, people who really inspire you, and I have many of them. And today I'm very happy to have one of them with me, and she's going to do a prayer for us, but I'm going to talk a little bit about her because she really is a hero of mine. It's Reverend Nancy Fagan. Yeah. Reverend Nancy wrote many books. She was a minister here for 30 years. And you know, you have to think about it. 30 years ago, in this area where being a female minister wasn't that accepted very easily. And she stood in her truth, and she taught her truth, and she healed and helped so many people. She's a heroine of mine. She's someone I look up for. She's inspired, and she has encouraged me, and she's still doing amazing work even right today. So please join with me in welcoming the wonderful friend and teacher and leader, Reverend Nancy Fagan. You can just stay right there if you'd like. You can just stay right there if you'd like.
Good morning. I chose to read a treatment from one of the books I've written. This Divine Done Deal. So, I Live in the Now is the name of the treatment. And the quote is by Eckhart Tolle from the book, The Power of Now. Die to the past every moment. You don't need it. Only refer to it when it's absolutely relevant to the present. Feel the power of this moment and the fullness of being. Feel your presence. That's from The Power of Now. And my treatment is entitled, I Live in the Now. In this moment, I feel my fullness of being. I know I am an individualized expression of the one power and presence. I am aware of my divine nature. Knowing and feeling this truth, I allow myself to be fully present in the now as I experience the flow of spirit pulsing through me. Refusing to live in past thinking, I am open to the magnificence of each moment and each breath. Breathing in, I feel spirit inspiring me. Breathing out, I release that which does not inspire me. I know that spirit is closer to me than every breath I now breathe. And I now relax into the present reality of being one with the one. As I do, I experience greater receptivity and increased realization of my connection with the one power and presence. As I live and know that divine presence within me, I joyfully release this truth, being grateful that it is so. I live in the now, and so it is. This is free.
Another song?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Reverend Nancy.
thought of this song is kind of inspiring about all the possibilities. I hope nobody takes it the opposite way. Look around me. I can see my life before me, running rings around the way it used to be. I am older now. I have more than what I wanted. I wish that I had started long before I did. There's so much time to make up everywhere you turn. Time we have wasted on the way. So much water moving underneath the bridge. Let the water come and carry us away. When you were young, did you question all the answers? Did you envy all the dancers who had all the nerve? Look around you now. You must go for what you wanted. Look at all my friends who did and got what they deserve. So much time to make up everywhere you turn. Time we have wasted on the way. So much water moving underneath the bridge. Let the water come and carry us away. There's so much love to make up everywhere we turn. Love we have wasted on the way. So much water moving underneath the bridge. Let the water come and carry us away.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Elizabeth. That was wonderful. So it's a special day we have today. We're having an interfaith service. You know, I really love interfaith work. I love pulling the wisdom in from different wisdom teachings. I think is a wonderful thing to do. And our teaching frees us and says, yeah, go out and explore. See what wisdom you can find. And so today we have my wonderful friend, Rabbi Fred Raskin here, and he's going to help us have a sort of Rosh Hashanah service here, a releasing of our sins, throwing the bread on the water. That's what you would typically do. We were planning to do that. We had a picnic planned before Ian started showing up in our forecast. And so we were going to go by the shores where they have the intercoastal, and we were going to throw our bread on the water. It was going to be really lovely. But we had to improvise, and that's a big part of life, you know. You have, what do they say, man makes plans and God laughs. Well, you got to get in on the joke with it sometimes, you know. You got to laugh with it. So instead of a moving body of water, we have this big bowl here that we will use. And Rabbi Fred's going to come up a little bit later, and he's going to share with us more about the tradition, how in Judaism they see this. So our talk is on releasing, for how we're going to interpret it, is releasing guilt and shame, letting go of guilt and shame. Now, I'm sure everyone like me is very, very grateful for surviving the storm. We're also very, very grateful for all the people who are rushing to help those who really suffered in the storm. I love, someone asked Mr. Rogers one time, they said, how do we teach, what do we say to our kids when we go through one of these tragedies? And he said, we tell the kids to look to the people who are running to help. That's what you tell them. Don't look at the disaster. Look to the people who are running to help. And it's sort of unique in American culture. We have that when disaster happens, we have people running to help. And that is the real miracle. I love seeing we have a wagon of food outside that we donate to the food pantry each week, and I see it's really full this week. I suspect a lot of people have brought in supplies that they bought up for the hurricane and are donating those this week, and that's a great thing to do. I think each household has a different strategy as to what to buy, how many, how much water, how much, food, and how many batteries. I was talking to our next door neighbor, and he was telling me about his strategy. He is one of those survivalist type people, and he has bought thousands of dollars worth of freeze-dried chicken, and chickpeas and rice from a company called Tasteless Technology. He's certain that this will get him through 5 years of Armageddon. And I think to myself, if I have to eat freeze-dried chicken for 5 years, I'd just as soon go on into spirit than have to get through that. In our house, we buy food that will survive Armageddon. It's not from Tasteless Technology. It's from a company called Little Debbie. Little Debbie, yes.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Little Debbie will survive Armageddon better than anybody. Yeah. I am convinced thousands of years from now, when archaeologists are digging through our rubble, they're going to come across Little Debbie and they're going to say, oh my God, she was the food goddess for these people. She created food that lasted forever. And here's the other thing about Little Debbie, it's tasty too. I mean, it's good. My mother thought Little Debbie would solve any problem. If you were on the road, got a little seat, car sick or anything, a Little Debbie and a Coca-Cola would cure anybody. You could lose an arm and she would get you a Little Debbie and a Coca-Cola. And I will say that, that there's a lot of comfort in that. So, as I said, today we're having this interfaith service. I don't think, Rabbi Fred, I think this is the first time that any of our teachings have done this. We may have done Hanukkah, we do the Seder service a little bit, but never Rosh Hashanah, So this is a good thing, because our job is to take wisdom where we find it and incorporate it in our lives as best we can, to find what makes our path easier, more joyful, and more meaning. And that's what we're here to do, to use those things as best we can. And that's what we're going to do today. And so I'm very happy to have Rabbi Fred here to lead us through this thing. Can y'all change the slide for me, Dave? And we'll talk a little bit about how we're going to move it through, how we're going to make a difference in it. And so it'll be a good thing. It's interesting for our teaching because, like I said, we don't really focus very much on looking to the past. But there's something very healing about, examining your life and seeing if you've made any mistakes and seeing if you can make amends, because that's a healing, very healing thing to do. We don't really have that in our tradition very much because we don't want to get focused or fixated on the past. But it's a healing thing to do, and it's a thing that goes through many, many practices. Socrates said that the unexamined life is not worth living. But I'm sure you're like me. You have friends who have lived through life and don't even consider how they're going through life. So we want to take time and make an inventory of our lives, an honest inventory of our life, and not in a place of victimhood, but in a place of authority, to know that we have a role to play and that we can make amends, that we can go back if we've had problems, we can make amends. And that's what we're here to do today. That's part of the tradition that in Judaism that they're celebrating. Guys, if you'll hit it again for me. So that's what we're doing. It's interesting that this idea of, looking at the past and making amends, that not only is that in Judaism, it also appears in recovery. I think it would be fun to go back. I don't really know the history of recovery that much, but it'd be interesting to go and to see if they had any influence, if there was Jewish influence when they created recovery. But anyway, the idea of examining and releasing, letting go of your sins is very powerful. You see it working in Catholicism, going to the priests and confessing your sins and letting go. The nice thing about this tradition is that when they make the amends, they close the book and they release it. They let it go. They don't stay focused on it. That's the concern we have in New Thought. We don't want to stay focused on the what we've done in the past. It does seem like that there is a need to have for people to confess. I'm sure Reverend Nancy and Rabbi Fred have both had these experiences where you have people come in and they want to make a confession to you. And here's the interesting thing. Most of the time when people come in and have this need to confess, I always wanted, like the bank robbery or something like that. Most of the time when people make a confession, it's not really anything very serious at all. It's something that you wouldn't think, well, why are you so worried about that? I remember when I first got here, there was a lovely lady. She was an amazing person. She was very giving. She cared for her elderly mother. She was a very lovely and caring and compassionate person. She came into the office one day and she wanted to share something with me because she had a confession. And she talked around it for a long, long time. And I knew she was kind of dancing around something. And she finally got to the point. And she told me, she says, well, she says, I have a habit I'm not proud of. And she says, I wake up in the morning, and she says, before I can go out to work, before I can get out in the world, she says, I go into the kitchen, I open up a refrigerator, and she says, I pull out a can of Diet Coke, and I have to have the Diet Coke before I can leave in the morning. And I was like, with rum? With bourbon? No, it's just a Diet Coke. I was like, well, dear, why is this? Why are you feeling bad about this? And she says, well, my sister calls it liquid death. I'm drinking liquid death to drink Diet Coke. And I was like, don't pay attention to her. Don't pay attention to her. If you enjoy the liquid death, if you enjoy the Diet Coke, then enjoy it. Enjoy it till really make sure you enjoy it. We all have to have things that we enjoy. And so, if we want to indulge in something, then indulge in it. I have an indulgence. For me, it's fried chicken. And I only have fried chicken one time a year. And when I have fried chicken, if it's not the best fried chicken I've ever had, I don't indulge in it. I pass it along. So we all want to have something that we can treat ourselves to from time to time. We're only human, and we're doing the best we can, and we just have to be patient and kind with ourselves, to enjoy ourselves. And, if that is eating a oatmeal pie that has probably as many chemicals in it as indoor-outdoor carpeting, then enjoy it. Enjoy your life. And don't be so hard on yourself. We're only human, and we're going through this thing as best we can. Now, this whole idea of sin may come as a surprise to you. This is something that shows up more in Christianity than it does in Judaism. Judaism, interesting, has very similar ideas about sin as we do, science of mind. For science of mind, sin is just a mistake. It's not something that that God is waiting to get a hold of you to fry you like a piece of bacon for eternity. it's just a mistake. And you have an opportunity to make it better. We're humans, and all of us make mistakes. Even original sin for Judaism is not like it is in Christianity. In Christianity, the original sin is an overriding theme that we have to have forgiveness for. In Judaism, the idea of original sin is we make many of them. And it's not that God is waiting to punish us. Spirit is there with us, encouraging us to do better. We can do better. But here's the problem. We can't do better if we're beating ourselves up constantly. If we're constantly telling ourselves how sinful we are and how bad we are and crippled we are. We have to encourage and inspire ourselves to do better, to know that we can do better. This was the attitude of Christ. When Christ went along and people had a mistake and they felt bad, he would just tell them one simple thing: go, you're forgiven, go and sin no more. Just go and do better. Learn from what you've gone through and go and do better. He didn't tell them, well, you've got to wait around and get washed in my blood after I die on the cross or face eternal damnation. He said, just go and do the best you can. Be compassionate, be loving, be gentle with yourself, for yourself and those around you. No guilt, no shame, because if we load ourselves up with guilt and shame, what do? We then go out in the world and to look for people to be angry about. That's the reason we have so much anger in the world today, is people have bound themselves up and they look out to their neighbors and they somehow think their neighbors are having more fun than they're having. They somehow think their neighbors have something that they should have, and they're angry about it. And they feel that the only way to make things right is to take things away from their neighbor. No, we have to open ourselves up and to know that all the goodness and the joy and love of the universe is ours as we allow it to flow through us to become that which Spirit is calling us to be. Guilt and shame was never a part of Christ's ministry. That came later through Paul and the church fathers. And here's a little dirty secret they don't want to tell you. That came when they realized they could make money off of guilt and shame. They realized they could control people. That's when it came into the teaching. It had nothing to do with Christ, had nothing to do with the ministry of Jesus. They learned they could control people through guilt and shame. They learned they could make money. You give me guilt and shame, I'll give you a cathedral in 3 years. I will. We'll have a statue of me on top of the spear, nacho bar in the hospitality area, Velveeta fountain, flowing Velveeta cheese continuously. It'll be a thing of beauty. But who needs it? It won't help anybody. Guilt and shame, we never are going to step into our true power. We're never going to be the person that Spirit knows us to be. We're never going to be the person that God is calling us to be if we belabor ourselves with guilt and shame. Now's the time that we want to lay those burdens down, because that's what they are, so we can move on to a better idea. So that's what this service is all about. Turning loose of an idea, a conclusion about yourself that has not worked so well, and to move into something better. So we're going to start our service now, and I'm going to have Rabbi Fred come up, and he's going to give us the Jewish interpretation of this service. Rabbi Fred, if you'd like to come up.
Morning. That's pretty inspiring, isn't it? You get this every week. 3 preliminary comments. First of all, this is not a Rosh Hashanah service. They're 2 to 2.5 hours long. It's a ceremony within the service, so relax. Number 2, theology is just superb. That slide, I don't know whether you can go back, about be as kind to yourself as you are to others. It was about 2 or 3 slides. Yeah. What popped into my mind was the text from Leviticus. The Hebrew reads, V'ahavta et reacha kamocha. You shall love your neighbor, your fellow human being, as yourself. And if you know the Hebrew, kamocha, help me, Judy, what's the word like? A simile, what's the part of speech? She was an English teacher for 25 years. No, just the word like.
Simile.
It's a simile, yes. Like yourself. And the rabbis comment, they comment all the time, extensively. As yourself. Not better than yourself, not worse than yourself, but as yourself. I see that there. And then Reverend Ken's comment on sin is, and he used the very words about missing the mark. The Hebrew word for sin comes from a root, which means missing the target, as if you had a bow and arrow and you were shooting at a target and you missed it. They don't chop your head off, you get another shot. So I wanted to say those couple of things, and then my very brief comments on Tashlach. In our tradition on the new year, which is this time of year, how is this the new year in September? Well, first of all, it's the beginning of the third quarter in business. It's the beginning of the program year for so many organizations. Universities and schools start up in the fall, of course. Harvest season and so forth. So for us, we start the new year not in the middle of winter, January 1, which reflected the Roman calendar, but at this time of the year. The word Rosh Hashanah means the head of the year, the beginning of the year. But the word Shana also means change, besides the word year. We're supposed to look at change, self-introspection, and fixing some of the things that maybe we're not so happy about. Pastor Ken teaches all the time that with life's bad stuff to just let it slide by. We do that, but we're Jewish. We drown the stuff. We go to a pond, a lake, the ocean, the sea, read some very brief prayers, which for us is quite unusual. The prayers are not usually very brief. And then we throw breadcrumbs into the water. Why? Because bread or leaven symbolizes ego, self, sin, self-absorption. And the word tashlach, for which this ceremony is named, means you shall cast, you shall throw. And it is derived from Ecclesiastes, the book, chapter 11. It sees this phrase, cast your bread on the waters. And it's a metaphor to take risks to do good, to self-improve, to spiritually move forward. The comic and filmmaker Woody Allen treats the verse, cast your bread on the waters, and you'll get soggy bread. But Micah in chapter 7 says, God will take us back in love and will cover up all our iniquities and failings. You shall cast all your failings into the depths of the sea. The gist of Tashlach is to make a new start, to wipe the slate clean for the coming year. It's not mystery, it's not magic, it's not mechanistic, that Spirit will automatically give us success, health, or a changed heart. No, this ritual reminds us that we already have that power. The power is within us, but only if we try to recreate our lives. Spiritual freedom comes from moving away from personal past habits, failures, attitudes, and mistakes by resolving to do better starting now. I didn't copy. I wrote this before Ken said these words. So we're very much on a parallel page. The Tashlach ceremony is a concrete affirmation that we can all move forward with a free mind, a free heart, and a free spirit without the weight and baggage of the past. May we all be so blessed. And so it is. Amen.
We're about to do it now.
Right now? So again, it's supposed to be a flowing river, but I served for a single year as an interim associate in Hollywood, Florida. They had 800 families, a huge congregation. But they had a huge lunch right afterwards. And they were too far from the water. And you cannot keep Jewish people after prayer and food. So they weren't driving over to the beach and driving back. So they set up round swimming pools and put water in it. I was horrified, frankly. But thinking about it, it's not about the body of water. It's about the act of ridding ourselves of the past. And so the way this works, and again, there are a couple of verses, and they use a song or two. We're supposed to put this in our pockets. And then we get to the river, sing a song, and just come. And so all of the bad stuff I did, like you remember this, Judy, all the things that I didn't do. I see it. God.
All right. Thank you, Fred. All right. So we can't leave well enough alone, or I can't. So we're going to do ours a little bit differently, and I'd like to explain what's going on here. We've got a big bowl of water. Fred, when he was talking about the moving water, water represents consciousness, thinking, moving. Bread, staff of life. So much more. Now we're all trying to stay away from it, because they'll. But staff of life, very important. You're throwing it on the water, the moving water. You're releasing an idea you've had about yourself. You're throwing it in consciousness. You're opening up a space for a better idea for yourself. So we're going to do a short meditation here, very short. You'll put your hand over your heart. I want you to think about what it is that's been holding you back. And when you come up, literally pull that energy from your heart. You're going to come up. We're going to have 3 practitioners. They're going to do a short affirmation for you, just a little bit of affirmation for you, and then you're going to take a pinch of the breadcrumb. It's panko breadcrumbs, by the way, so we got the good stuff here. Just a pinch. We're not trying to make a meatloaf, guys, and just cast it on the water. So place your hand over your heart, and I want you to think back. Think back on the past week. Take a breath. I want you to think back on the past month. Take another breath. And now I want you to think back on the past year. What idea, what conclusion, what memory of yourself have you held in consciousness? Have you allowed to dominate your thinking that has held you in bondage from rising up to be the best you can be? What has held you back? And when you get a firm idea of that, come up to the bowl and take a pinch of bread and cast it on the water. The practitioners will come down. Go to one of the practitioners first as you do. So Richard and Maureen, if you'll come down, and when you get ready, step up to one of the practitioners and step up to the bowl.
Shalom levoy navoy, Hashem lo yishmari, Shav shokat shoymai, Hashem lo yirne bayis. Shalom levoy navoy, Hashem lo yishmari, Shav shokat shoymai, Hashem lo yirne bayis. Shalom levoy navoy, Hashem lo yishmari, Shav shokat shoymai, Hashem lo yirne bayis. Shalom lo boy na boy, Hashem lo yishmari, Shav shokat shoymei. Ine lo yanum velo yishon, lo yanum velo yishon, shoymei ישראל הנה הנה לא ינום ולא יישן לא ינום ולא יישן שומע ישראל הנה הנה לא ינום ולא יישן לא ינום ולא יישן שומע ישראל השם לא יבנה בית Shalom lo boy no boy, im Hashem lo yishmor yir, Shav shokat shoymer, im Hashem lo yivne bayis. Shalom lo boy no boy, im Hashem lo yishmor yir, Shav shokat shoymer, im Hashem lo yivne bayis. Shalom lo boy no boy, im Hashem lo yishmor yir, Shav shokat shoymer, im Hashem lo yivne bayis. Shalom lo boy no boy, im Hashem lo yishmor yir, Shav shokat shoymer, hine hine lo yanum velo yisham, lo yanum velo yisham, shoymer Yisrael, hine hine lo yanum velo yisham, lo yanum velo yisham, shoymer Yisrael. Na 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 Lo yivne bayis, Shalom lo boy no boy, im Hashem lo yishmor yir, Shav shokat shoymer, im Hashem lo yivne bayis. Shalom lo boy no boy, im Hashem lo yishmor yir, Shav shokat shoymer, im Hashem lo yivne bayis. Shalom lo boy no boy, im Hashem lo yishmor yir, Shav shokat shoymer, im Hashem lo yivne bayis. Shalom lo boy no boy, im Hashem lo yishmor yir, Shav shokat shoymer, hine hine lo yanum velo yishan, lo yanum velo yishan, shoymer Yisrael. Hine hine lo yanum velo yishan, lo yanum velo yishan, shoymer Yisrael. Hine hine lo yanum velo yishan, lo yanum velo yishan, shoymer Yisrael. Hine hine lo yanum velo yishan, lo yanum velo yishan, shoymer Yisrael. Hashem lo yivne bayis. Shalom lo boy no boy, im Hashem lo yishmor yir, Shav shokat shoymer, im Hashem lo yivne bayis. Shalom lo boy no boy, im Hashem lo yishmor yir, Shav shokat shoymer, im Hashem lo yivne bayis.
So join with me now in an affirmative prayer. And this is what I know. I know in my heart a shofar has blown, and that sound of the horn is telling me that now is my time. Now is my day. I've made excuses long enough. Now is the time for me to break off the shackles of fear, of doubt, of guilt and shame. Now's the day for me to lift my eyes up to a new knowing for myself, that I am strong and dynamic, that Spirit has called me by name so I can be here in this time. Yes, the storm has blown hard. The night has been long, but I am strong with the compassion of God. I am dynamic with the love of Spirit. I have come to life to make the world a better place through my heart and soul. Spirit is counting on me, and this morning I am am resonating with a new knowing for myself. I'm not turning back. I've seen a new heaven and a new earth. I've seen a new Jerusalem, a city on the hill filled with love and compassion, of sisterhood and brotherhood, where the swords of war have been beaten into the plowshares of peace. This morning I am answering the call of Spirit, and I am ready and I am willing. I am walking on my path to a greater knowing. Spirit is with me every step of my way. It has lit a path before me. This is my truth. Every cell of my being radiates this right knowing. And I release this prayer into the mind of God to do its good and perfect, bold and dynamic work, returning to me multiplied abundantly. And together we say, and so it is. All right, my dear friends. Today's been a special day, so we're not going to do our normal collection because it just doesn't seem right. But the ushers will be at the door with offering plates. And so please share with us your support for our center, because this is a special and unique place, and your support is allowing us to remain this beacon of hope and love, a beacon of compassion, a beacon of wisdom. Just like that lighthouse on the shore, this community is shining a light out to a world weary, storms, boats tossed and torn on the storms. We are showing people a better way, and you're making it possible. So I'm going to leave you, my friends, with one final thought. And that last thought is that your life, it's not a problem to be solved. It's a miracle unfolding. And your job, your only job this week, is to go name your miracle, to proclaim your miracle, and to make it your own. God bless us all. Now let us go be the miracle God is calling us to be. This is Reverend Ken. Until we see each other again, many blessings. Little technicalities there. I love these guys.
You're having a hard time. Lately you don't feel so good. You're getting a bad reputation in your neighborhood. It's all right, it's all right. Sometimes that's what it takes. You're only human. You're supposed to make mistakes.
Buddy. Oh, that's a laugh.
You better believe there will be times in your life when you'll be feeling like a stumbling fool.
Good.
Take it from me, you'll learn more from your accidents than anything you can ever learn in school. Don't forget your second wind. Sooner or later, you get your second wind.
Technology is.
Oh. It's not always easy to be living in this world of pain.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed.
You're gonna be crashing into stone walls again and again.
Thanks for coming.
It's all right, it's all right. Though you feel your heart break, you're only human. You're gonna have to deal with heartache.
Oh.
Just like a boxer in a title fight, you gotta walk in that ring all alone. You're not the only one who made